untied.
Oh! Здравствуйте.
Skull! Chieftain Ralf here. Got a special guest with me, Ruslan.
Привет.
Pripyat.
Rigatoni.
Macaroni. What are we talking about today?
Today we're talking about swords. We've got
Nice
a
swords.
pile of swords here.
Ooh.
These are all swords that I've had for a while. Yeah, I've worn them to things, I've used them for different cutting tests and bottles and pumpkins and stuff and brush and not people, that I'll admit.
Not brand new out of the box, actually
Not
used,
brand new
tested,
out of the box, yep.
played with, enjoyed.
They all have scabbards that I've made. I make these scabbards. If you're interested in scabbards, leave a comment.
Yeah, comment.
Yep. I do make them. I will sell them, and we can talk. That's not what this video is. Oh yeah, definitely custom. Each one is made to the sword that it's wearing. This one I got from Darksword Armory several years ago. It was a prototype. They were running a sale on it. It was a prototype to their current Norman model. I can't remember how much I paid for it, and that would be moot now anyway. But it wasn't a bad price, so I picked it up on a whim, and it was advertised as sharp. It wasn't, but otherwise I've been pretty happy with it. It's a type, it's not really a Norman sword, it's a bit later, it's more of a type, Oakshot type 12 or 12A I think, and I really should have looked that up to remind me before we did this.
I never research anything.
But, you know, somewhat taper into a very sharp point, and that is a very sharp point on this. Good fuller running most of the way down the blade. It's a good sword. It's a very forgiving cutter. It is very forgiving of poor form. I believe the weight on this sword is 10 pounds, 2 pounds,
That'd be
10
a heavy
ounces.
blade.
That would be a heavy sword.
2 pounds, 10 ounces.
2 pounds, 10 ounces, I believe, is the weight on this.
Well, that looks a little shorter than a lot of them.
It is. This one comes in at 34 inches, which I think is how they got the stoutness of the blade and kept the weight in keeping with most other swords. It's a good sword. It's supposedly differentially heat treated, which was something that attracted me. So it's got a edge hardness of a Rockwell of about 60, and then it eases back to the core to, I believe, mid-40s, I think is what they said. And having had to profile and put an edge on this myself, I have no reason to doubt that the edge is that hard. It was not an easy edge to put on.
Not easy to put on, but you got it on there and it kept it.
Yes. Every once in a while, after I've been using it, I'll retouch it a little bit, really just with a strop, and that keeps it very sharp. It's a good sword. When I got it on the pommel here, it just had recesses where these brass coins are. I had a friend make these brass coins. He acid etched them, and they're with figures prominent in my coat of arms, my device. Unicorn on one side, a dog on the other. Inset those into the pommel. It's a good sword. For the price, it's definitely a good sword.
They still offer it?
They offer, this was the prototype.
Right.
They offer the actual Norman now as part of their regular line, and it's a good sword.
Now that grip looks, well, the grip looks a period length. You know, a lot of people have talked about it before for a little longer modern sport gauntlets and whatnot, but that seems an
Yeah,
accurate
that
period
is
length.
that is I
That's
believe
nice.
a pretty period length. I did have to do a little bit of doctoring. Now that you mention that, because even holding it in what they call a handshake grip and whatnot, cutting with it, I would find that this disc would it was very sharp corner on the round pommel here. I found it would dig uncomfortably into my hand, so I just rounded the profile up at the handle end a little bit, and it's been fine ever since. It was just really sharp corner. Well made. I mean, it was well made. It was well machined, but it was a bit too well machined there.
Yeah. So, you know, well, all your swords that you recommend always feel nice. It's actually a similar blade to the Viking blunt I have.
Well,
The
same
shorter
maker.
blade, same, yeah, it's
same
my
maker.
Darksword.
Yeah.
They always feel nice. That's, yeah.
Got
I like
peened,
those coins.
peened pommel.
That's a nice clean peen.
It is.
So that's available today if you call 1-800-Ruslan Swords. It's available for $39.95, but only if you call in the next 10 minutes.
No,
No.
not gonna happen. Side note, I made the scabbard for that and a matching dagger. And I made them and entered in the Society for Creative Anachronisms. We have arts and sciences competitions. And this is the only one I ever entered, and it was the big one that our kingdom, which is like big regional groups, the big one our regional group has, our kingdom, has an event called Ice Dragon, and I did very well. I was very pleased with the feedback that I got back. So yeah, matching scabbard with this and a knife, which I actually didn't bring today.
Yeah, we'll do knives another
Do
time.
another time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We got a lot of knives.
Got a lot of weapons.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Absolutely.
We gotta focus them in.
Yeah.
Need some swords today.
So that
We're doing sharp swords today.
sharp swords today, yes. That was my best sword until I got this one. This is my sword Spite. It's an Albion Knight. These are still available. Albion, when Albion has a production run, they'll do a number of whatever model that sword is, and then they won't do anymore. This run was 1,000, and they are still making them. So you can still get this sword. And this is actually one of Albion's most popular swords. People who try this model love it. It handles beautifully. It's responsive. The balance is just it's like the Ferrari of sharp swords. It really is.
Or even a good car.
Or even a good car, yeah. It handles great. Very responsive in the hand. It's still got good blade presence. It cuts beautifully. Again, when I got it, I had to fix the edge. It wasn't as sharp as it could have been or should have been. And this is a more classic model 12 or 12A. Same model. This is like your quintessential knight sword is basically what we're looking at here.
So the fuller doesn't go all the way up the blade, I noticed that.
Yep. The fuller goes most of the way up the blade, which is the norm for this model. This sword was kind of a transition between the more slashing swords of the earlier period. They started to realize, hey, stabbing, that's a thing. And they started making more acute points, so this has the fuller only going up to about here to give more rigidity at the point to make for a better stab. This is going to get into gaps in armor better, possibly through mail. You've got a better chance of it getting through mail than, say, an earlier Viking sword, which are actually usually Frankish, but that's another story.
Oh, they have a good steel.
No, they do.
Yeah.
This is going to be more likely to pierce mail.
Charlemagne banned the export of them, didn't he?
I believe he did, yes.
Yeah,
I don't think it really worked. But he tried.
Well, he banned the official export, but
Right.
you have the black market and you have people stealing fucking swords.
Well,
so,
yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So yeah, later period they got back into the stabbing, which also
Yeah.
was earlier period, wasn't it?
Earlier period.
Roman swords, shorter,
Roman,
mostly
though,
for
completely different geography,
yeah.
completely different
Completely
culture.
different area.
These are
Most of the ancient world was more of a shield and stab. They seem to go more for a slash.
right.
That kind of
Yeah.
came full circle.
Well, I
didn't it?
think that has to do with the change in armor. Maybe I'm not sure, but yeah, the northern people of that in the migration and Viking age did
Man,
go
such
much for
contempt.
did go much more for slashing.
Early medieval
swords.
Scandinavian.
Those guys.
Yeah.
They went much more for slashing swords than you could stab with. They really weren't facing a lot in the way of armor. Mail shirts were the height of the technology and they were rare. So mostly you were trying to stab somebody through clothes. You can do that with a more rounded tip. And that more spatulate shaped tip does deliver a better cut with the tip. This will deliver a less good cut with the tip. But that's okay because I put it through a body with no effort.
I mean, to be fair, some of those monks wore some pretty heavy wool. Just saying.
They did, yes. But I don't think the wool was heavy enough
No.
on its own. So yeah, this is the Albion Knight. Very good sword. And you just felt my Darksword, which is a very good sword.
Oh yeah.
Nothing but good to say about that sword. Now feel the difference having just felt that one.
See, now that feels lighter.
Same weight.
Same way. It
Same weight.
definitely must be spread out. It's the weight spread out, or
The distribute, yeah, it's just distributed a little differently.
yeah, feels better. It
That
responds.
sword likes to move.
Yeah, big time. You can feel it. There's definitely more weight in the pommel, so it's going to be a little more, I don't know, back balance. What do you call that? It's balanced. Balance,
yeah, the
counterbalance.
yeah,
That's the word I'm thinking of.
balance shifts a little bit.
Yeah, that's. Yeah, I like that a lot.
That is definitely out of all my swords,
Top
that's my
tier.
favorite.
Oh, is that the Nick?
That, yes. So one day last year, last early November, I was doing some cutting for a small event we have every year, Pumpkin Slaughter Fest 5000, in which we slaughter pumpkins. It tells the story in the name.
Yeah.
But it was really cold and I was hurrying, and so I did a cut, and my alignment was bad, and I cut into my stand. And when I made this stand, I was in a hurry. Haste makes waste. And instead of using wooden pegs like I wanted to, I used screws, heavy deck screws to be exact. And I shored through the head of one of the screws and took a bit, well, not a huge nick. I mean, it's,
Very small, barely noticeable.
to me, it's huge. Took a nick out of the edge of my sword, and it's fine. It's not affecting the performance, but it is a ding.
You clean it up very nice.
I tried.
Clean
I
that
did
up.
try.
We'll do a sword maintenance video someday.
See, yeah,
That'd be important. A lot of people don't talk about me.
No, they don't. Yeah, and it is really important.
Big time.
Okay, so the last sword that I have today is another Albion, and this is their model Gadgehalt. I don't know how to pronounce it. Gadgehalt. It means spike tilt, and it's called that because the crossguard is narrow and spiky. Pokey, spiky.
Oh yeah, you could shove that through a visor.
Oh, you could shove that through an eye.
Well, yeah.
You could shove that through a sternum. You could shove that through a lot of things. And this is it's a late model Viking sword. And a lot of people wouldn't think so, but this is actually from about the 10th century on through the early Crusades. You would see this style of sword. It's not a Type 10. Jeez, I gotta remember the oakshot typology now.
I'll try to put it in later.
Yeah, we can do that later.
Google it and put it in. You can tell it's 10th century, not later, because the pommel's not round.
Yep, it's got a Brazil nut pommel. Again,
Throw that in there.
very clean peen.
Holy crap! You can't even tell.
Can't even
that's,
see it. Yeah,
that's
that is a clean
good
peen.
side. That's why they're one of the best.
This sword this is not my favorite sword if I was fighting on foot. It's actually lighter than the other two. It's weighing at 2 pounds 8 ounces. It feels heavier in the hand, and that's because it's got more blade presence. It's a powerful cutter, very powerful cutter, but it's not as responsive in the hand. It's again, it's got more blade presence because it's longer. This is a 40 or 42 inch sword overall. It's a long sword for a one-handed sword. My theory is this would be a great horseman's sword. You're getting the extra reach that you need to reach down and kill dirty peasants. You're getting the extra reach you need for the thrusts. I think this is a horseman's sword that can be used on foot, certainly. I mean, it's going to be a good sword for anybody. With sword and shield on foot, it's not going to be as good as either of these, especially Spite, but it's far from a bad sword. Again, it's one of Albion's most popular models for a reason. Late period Viking into early Crusades. It handles well, but not responsive.
That makes sense. That would have been when they were starting to develop cavalry more.
Yeah.
More into using cavalry.
Yeah, exactly. Definitely could have seen this sword at Hastings, and later for probably a couple hundred years. So again, you can feel the difference between that one and the others.
I mean, it's heavier.
No, it's actually 2 ounces lighter.
It's lighter. Yeah. The weight's definitely more up in the blade.
Yeah.
It's balanced forward.
When it hits hard.
It'll bring a swing right through.
It definitely hits
It's not going to want to
hard.
return and keep moving.
Right.
That's going to want to hack through.
Right. Unlike with Spite, which I can change direction with.
Yeah, that one moves.
This one, once it starts moving in a direction, it's going in that
That's where
direction.
it's going. And that's it.
And when it gets there,
It's there.
it hits hard.
Yeah.
Brutal cutter. Less forgiving than the other two of bad form and whatnot, but brutal all the same. It's a vicious sword. It's a very good sword.
You can definitely see for an inexperienced fighter, that's going to tire your arm out. This would
Yeah,
have to be
it would.
For a fighter, a warrior, a professional, really.
Right.
That wouldn't be your average take a sword, try to survive the battle. That'd be, I've been doing this for a while.
That's going to be a professional's sword, yes. Which again, I really feel like, and I'm not the only one who feels this way. I do really feel like this is a sword that's designed to be used from horseback.
I could see that. The grip's thinner than the other ones.
It is. It is.
Also period.
It's
Most earlier swords.
more comfortable to use with gloves for any length of time.
Yeah.
I find my hands are large, and I wear a large glove, but they're not huge hands. I find that my hand gets a little crampy using that for a while without gloves.
Yeah. Nice.
And again, same as the others, scabbards. I made these scabbards. We'll include close-ups of them.
Oh yeah, we got to take
The two Albions are also lined. I can do that. They're lined with wool that's been impregnated with oil.
And that's period wool lining because the natural lanolin. So wool-lined scabbards would have been period, right? The natural lanolin, they knew would protect
sometimes
the blade.
they'd use raw sheepskin with the hair on.
That's what I was thinking.
Sometimes they'd use wool, but period wool, the way they prepped and cleaned the wool in period, retained more of its lanolin and oils than the way we do now. It's a modern wool, so the lanolins and everything are washed out of it. But once I glue the wool into the scabbard have, I impregnate it with oil, and it's a process, but yeah. And that's everything I brought today.
Let's go hit stuff.
Let's go hit stuff.
All right.
Ah! You look like the fucking Bopsy twins here.
Oh, good.